So why is the Dingo trailer up on Cinderblocks? Well, just when I thought I had really nailed most of the projects that I was going to do on the Dingo trailer, I joined a overlanding group, and one of the great guys within the overlanding group actually had some experience with the suspension that I have on the Dingo trailer. And he shared some concerns that he had based on some failures he had while out on the trail. And I did a little bit more research and found a couple more people that had similar failures. So basically it looks like what I have on the trailer was a little underrated for the weight of the trailer. So what I'm doing is I am going to be upgrading the suspension. So what I want to do is take you underneath the trailer here real quick. I'll show you the existing suspension and talk a little bit about what I'm going to be upgrading into. All right, so we're underneath the trailer now. This is looking from the front towards the rear. And what I have here are the Timbren is the manufacturer of these axle-less suspension arms. And they're great. The only problem is that the suspension I have is the Timbren 2,000 pound heavy duty. And I think this trailer really needs the 3,500 XD or heavy duty. So I'm going to be taking these off and replacing them with the 3,500. The one thing I did want to show you is, according to what I have heard, this weld here has a tendency, and this weld here has a tendency to fail when overstressed and too much weight is on the trailer, bottoming out the suspension and putting a sudden stress on those welds. What it looks like is the newer versions of this have been built with a little bit more bolt-on connectivity and creating a little bit more strength on them. But Timbren is a great company and great reviews, and I think once I get the updated 3,500 pound rated suspension on here, everything will be great. You'll see that my suspension does have the brake add-ons on this. However, they were never actually wired in, and so I did go ahead and order the new brake hubs, electric brake hubs, and I'll be wiring those in as well. In fact, one thing I am going to do, you can kind of see up in here, that's the junction box. It's actually been spray painted to coat it and keep it protected from the elements, because the cover at one point I guess had fallen off of it with the previous owner. So I am actually going to be replacing the entire wire harness above that, the one that goes into the vehicle, putting a new junction box in there, and then making these connections all over again and connecting in the electric brake connection. So that is the project. I'll give you guys some updates as we go along through it. Thanks. All right, well, we basically got everything torn down off of the Dingo trailer, so we're down just to our bare frame here. We have done a little bit of cleanup work on the underside, did a little bit of cleanup painting, which is why there's still a little bit of masking tape on underneath there, but ready to start installing the new suspension onto the Dingo trailer. So let's jump in and take a look at that here real quick. All right, so real quick, what I wanted to do was just kind of show, I've torn down the old suspension off of the Dingo trailer. It actually looks really good. Once I took it off, it's definitely in great shape, strong, really great suspension system. So the video is definitely not a knock by any means on the Timbren suspension systems. It was just a result of me being under scale for ultimately the trailer that I've got and the type of terrain that I'm going to be on. I think we were just going to be pushing it to its limits on the 2,000 pound HD system. So upgrading to the 3,500 pound HD system, and I think we'll be in better shape. But that's what they look like coming off. They definitely have been used and put through the test, but I think they still are in great shape. All right, so what I wanted to do real quick was just show you the new suspension system. I'm not going to go through the full design install process because actually a lot of that's already been done on my particular trailer, and there's some great videos that I'll link to down in the description. But for what I wanted to do was just kind of show you how I'm adapting and doing a little bit of modifications to be able to go from the 2,000 pound HD to the 3,500 pound HD system. So I'll walk you through what I'm doing there, show you the system here, and then I'll show you what it looks like once we get it all installed. All right, so here's the complete system. Basically, you've got the main body of the suspension. They build these in obviously a right and a left. You've got the spindle arms. Now, the 3,500 system that I got, I did do with the 4-inch lift. In the previous set that I had was the 3-inch lift, so I'm going to get a little bit of additional clearance out of this. The Timbren systems do come with a short or a long spindle, so if you're looking at off-road tires like we're dealing with, you definitely want to go with the long spindle, so we opted for those. So these are obviously the control arms that will bolt onto the suspension system here, and then we did go with the full electric brake hubs. So here's the hubs and the brakes, as well as the electric brake systems here. So all of it looks really high quality, built really well. I'm really happy with it. The bearings look high quality as well. So that's going to be all part of the build process. So ultimately we did have to make a couple adjustments because what I wanted to do was stay with the bolting pattern that the 2,000 pound HD system had. So what that is it's a little shorter here. So I am actually building up the base of this. I'm going to put 2 of these 1/4-inch steel plates on here. That's going to build me up a 1/2 inch, and that will line those holes up with the with what's on the trailer already. And then the other adaptation I'm going to have to do is these holes are spaced 5 inches apart, and on the 2,000 pound system they are 4 inches apart. So I'm going to mount into the center bolt here into the original holes. I'll end up drilling a new hole here and a new hole back here in order to accommodate that. I didn't want to drill additional holes in my frame, so I am opting to put some custom holes in on the frame of this. And then we are going to be using the crossbar system. So if you're looking at the Timbren, it comes with multiple options when it comes from a crossbar or horizontal support system. You can actually build out an L bracket, or if your frame will sit in between these, you can bolt up from the bottom into the frame, which keeps the flex solid in this regard. If not, what you can do is run a, see if I can show you here. You can run a crossbar from one to the other horizontally across the bottom of the trailer, and it will give it horizontal support and strength. So we opted for that because that just fits my frame a little bit better to be able to do it that way. So that's really the extent of the customization. The measurements of the arm lengths are within about 7/16 of what the 2,000 pound system has. So I think my wheel will be less than a 1/2 inch forward in the fender wheel well. So I'm looking at ultimately how that's going to play out. That's my one concern at this point in time that I haven't totally seen line up just yet. So we'll take a look at that when it gets all mounted on and be able to put it all together from there. So I'll show you what that looks like when we're done. Every project needs to be Gibsonized. Let's do it. All right, so real quick, what I wanted to show you was I've gone ahead and modified my Timbren bolting bracket location. So I've added this hole and this hole here to mount up to the same locations that my trailer had, and I did the same on both the right and the left side. And then in order to accommodate for the deeper mounting locations. I've got 2 1/4-inch plates that I'm putting on the top, like this, on the top here. And we've got 2 of them because 2 1/4-inch plates equals 1/2 inch. And that's how much further deeper these bolting locations are than the previous. So that will give me the additional height I need and actually create a ton of additional stability on the base of each of these suspension systems. So I think it actually kind of worked as a double win. So that's where we're at right now. Next thing we'll be doing is mounting it up and then working on the spindles, cross arm suspension portions, and I'll show you all that as we go along with it.
Hey, so real quick, what I wanted to do was just show you a couple things about the electric brake control install that I'm doing. So I have a 2019 Toyota Tacoma. It came equipped with the tow package, so it was pre-wired for everything. But obviously with electric brakes, you do have to add the brake controller. And for the Tacoma, this particular brake controller needed a wire harness adapter. So I'm not going to try and recreate the entire install video. I'm going to link to a couple videos and a very basic but educational how electric brake systems on trailers work video. So I'll link to those 3 videos on the description below. So I won't try and recreate everything in there, but I will just show you a couple things that lightly are highlighted in some of the other videos, but I wanted to show you just to make sure you're aware if you're doing this on your Tacoma. So I ended up going with the Draw Tight iCommand controller. I really like this because it actually has an internal servo sensor on it that is tied to your vehicle's motion. So when your vehicle starts to slow down, it picks that up, and also is very aware of how quickly you're stopping or how slowly you're stopping. So it adjusts accordingly, and then it also gives you some boost control and gain control as well. So again, all that's in the other videos, but I did just kind of want to show you what I ended up deciding to use and why I went that route. All right, so I've gone ahead and opened up my wire channel and removed my kick plate. Again, also detailed in the videos and the instructions that Draw Tight sends along. But I did just want to show you one thing here. So you see here is the wire harness connection. It is tucked really far back in there, kind of folded over and taped down. So you do have to kind of plug around a little bit to find it, being careful of all the other wires that are back there. And then I actually did have to get a very small little razor blade in there to cut the tape off that had it held really far back. So again, be very careful of all the other wires that you've got going on there. But that's the plug that plugs into the adapter, and then that adapter has an end on it that plugs into the Draw Tight controller. The other thing is that as described in one of the videos that I linked to, I did go ahead and ground this to one of the brake panel bolts. So that is what I went with, but that did require me to put a larger 5/16 eyelet on it that looks like that. There we go. So I did have to cut off the eyelet that came with that, put the larger one on there, and then put a little shrink tube on it to seal it all up good. So that's pretty much the only modifications that I've done. As in one of the videos, I have decided to go ahead and put it on this panel right here, and I'll show you what that looks like after I get it up. All right, we've got it all put back together, mounted right there on the left-hand side of the lower panel. I did just give it a nice wrapping of electrical tape under there just to kind of pretty it up, and it just kind of tucked nicely right underneath the dash, and then everything else
I was able to zip tie under the dash and back here behind the kick panel. So super simple install. Now I just got to finish putting the bearings and everything together in the hubs and get them together and give it a try. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really ever think that this day was going to come over the last couple weeks. And don't tell my wife, but I think this project was probably a little bit bigger than I originally thought it was. But by no means impossible. Nothing that a little bit of Gibsonizing can't take care of. So when we first started this, the Dingo was up on blocks, and now it's back on its legs, some new legs of that. So I'm actually getting ready to go out for the very first test drive in this. So if everything falls apart as I drive out of the driveway, you're gonna see it. Here it goes. All right, so now real quick, what I want to do is show you another little small project I've done recently with the water tank system. So if you remember, I had one water tank on one side holding 25 gallons. I've actually downsized to 20 gallons, and I've split it between two tanks, one on either side, and now they're both polypropylene, so they are a little bit more rugged to some of the bumps and bruises that the trail is going to give us. So real quick, I'm going to open this up and we'll take a look at those, and then we will be out. This thing holds a bunch of stuff, huh? Pretty cool. All right, so let me show you what we got inside with the water tanks. So I'm not sure if you remember from some of the earlier videos, but this is the side that had one large 25-gallon water tank all on one side. So I really didn't like having the water all weighted on one side of the trailer. I also had some issues with the funnel spout breaking on my first outing. So what I did is I really wanted to put some polypropylene tanks in here. I outfitted them with a vent at the top and a valve going into the Julka quick disconnect at the bottom. So I can just run my Julka hose right onto here, connect, open the valve, pump water out, and then switch to the other side as I get low, or alternate back and forth if I want to keep the weight nice and even. And these are food grade tanks, so I can put filtered water in here and really not have to worry too much about the quality of the water after that point. All right, so that's it. Dingo's ready for trip number 2. I think number 1, we beat it to heck and really found a couple areas that we wanted to make some improvements on. Suspension, water tanks were the big ones. We've done that, and we're ready to go on trip number 2. So look for another video here coming shortly with a great trip down in the Tuolumne National Forest. As always, thank you guys all for coming along for the ride, and look forward to the next one.